Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Yes! Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Hello guys and welcome to another one of Unocoin's AMA, that is Ask Me Anything session. So a lot of times there's an odd comparison between Bitcoin and other assets like gold. Now while Bitcoin itself is digital gold, it's a debatable topic. What makes Bitcoin better than gold? When gold has a proven track record of over years. So we'll find that out today and answer all your questions regarding the topic, which is how is Bitcoin a better investment than gold? This is your host Shambhavi Soni, and for this, I would like to introduce you to our ultimate Bitcoin specialist, Mr. SunnyRay, the president and the co-founder of Unocoin. Hi Sunny, how are you doing today?
Hey Shambhavi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm great too. Honestly, okay, we have already started the questions. So guys, we're going to start with all your questions just in a second. Once after, Sunny can explain us this concept of investing in gold and in Bitcoin. And why is there a comparison at all when these are two different asset classes?
Okay, so we're gonna dive into the deep end, I guess, right away. So I mean, I don't know. So where do you want me to start? You want me to talk about like why Bitcoin is called digital gold, or why I think it's better, or where do you want me to begin?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we can
where?
start with investing in both of them. How to trust which one?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think where to begin. I mean, I think everyone knows about gold in general, right? I mean, if any place in the world people love gold, it's definitely India, right? I think like I know growing up, my mom, and everyone, all my aunts, and you go to the weddings, and gold is kind of like culturally respected. I think a lot of people, maybe they intuitively know this, or maybe they don't, but I think it's interesting to take note that today we have something called fiat currency, right? Like rupees and dollars and all of that. But prior to that, for a very long time, humans actually used gold as a form of money. And so I don't know, like, I think for me at least, it was very interesting to ask why. Like out of all the things, like, you could have used leaves on a tree, you could have used salt and rocks, you could use so many things, but why did humans land on gold? Did someone decide one day that gold was going to be money? Was it something that happened naturally? Are there certain properties of gold that make it better to be a form of money? So those are all questions that I had, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And that's what got me kind of interested in Bitcoin too, because when you can appreciate what gold is, and so some of those things, we've talked about it in our previous, discussions, but some of those things, just for quick reminder, I think some people in the messages even have already alluded to this, but so if you go to Wikipedia and look up, what is money, or what are the kind of 6 or 7 qualities that money needs to have, you'd find things such as, do you know what some of those are? Do you know what some of those elements are
Yeah,
that
I
people would
think
look for?
I think the number one would be it is supposed to be scarce.
Exactly. And let me ask you a question. Are rupees scarce?
Well, not at all.
Not at all, right? Are dollars scarce? I mean, I think they've
No.
increased the supply by like 40% or
Yeah,
something in the last few years. So it's kind of funny that, the first thing that you mentioned that you think most people would understand that a form of money should be scarce are the money that we use today is not, right? So that should worry people. And if something is not scarce, then what does that mean? That means that the purchasing power of that thing can be diluted. It can be almost like brought down to zero because you can print as much as you want, right? So
exactly.
scarcity is definitely one of those things. And then if we make a quick parallel to Bitcoin, right, since that's the whole conversation is Bitcoin versus gold, you see that Bitcoin is scarce and arguably more scarce than gold, right? So why would I say that? Like, how can you be more scarce than gold? So let's say, for example, I don't know, you probably heard, right? In the last few years, they found some temple in India with so many tons of gold they found underneath it, right? So now all of a sudden the supply that everybody was aware of one day to the next changed drastically. They could foreseeably, maybe Elon Musk figures out how to take down a comet out of, that's flying by Earth, and now they find unlimited gold there, right? Or I don't know, maybe they make some 3D printer that prints gold. So I could see it's a bit far fetched, but I could see or come up with examples of ways that, and how much gold is there really in the world? Is it quantifiable? Can you tell me exactly how much there is? It's not really that easy. So with Bitcoin, it solves for all, right? How many Bitcoin will ever be there? Do you know? Have you got that number yet? 21 million. 21 million, exactly. So I think limited is scarcity is one thing. What other things about gold make it money? You remember from our previous conversations?
I think the part that where it has got the price has increased and the value has given a good amount of returns in the past few years.
Yeah, but I would say, but if you had to look up like how or why is that, I would say some of the reasons is scarcity is one, like you said, right? But things that make gold kind of perfect for money and Bitcoin as well is fungibility, right? So that's another thing. Fungibility means if I have an ounce of gold and you have an ounce of gold, we can trade it and it's worth the same. If I have $100, you have $100, it's fungible. So Bitcoin is similar, right? So it has units, and you can, if one Satoshi or one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. Um, and then there's a couple of other things, right? There's divisibility. That's another quality, right? And again, if you think of gold, it's quite unique, right? You can like take a sliver of a tiny piece of gold, and now maybe you can go, shopping with it or something, right? Or let's say, you have a bigger piece of gold, you can buy a house with it, right? So it's like divisible. But whereas in Bitcoin, again, I would say it's even more divisible, because while the smallest unit for gold is something that you can shave, like a tiniest piece, with Bitcoin, it's digital. So you could have one, like 9 decimal places over, 0.0000 whatever, 9 decimal places over 0.001 of Bitcoin, right? So it's even more divisible. Why? Because it's digital, right? So it's got fungibility, scarcity, divisibility, and like that, many other, kind of properties that make it better than gold. And this is why a lot of people refer to as Bitcoin as digital gold, right? Because it kind of, like, you can tell that the founder, or whoever invented it, Satoshi, really took a close look at gold and said, hey, what makes gold special, and how do we bring those properties into something like a new form of money, i.e. Bitcoin.
So I think it's a big comparison if you're talking about that, and I think sure as hell this session is definitely going to be very interesting from what it looks like. So Sunny, we're quickly going to take one of the questions in the comment box that we have here from Puli Chakravarti. She's saying that supply of Bitcoin is finite. Due to the loss of private keys, there's a continuous permanent loss of Bitcoin. And in that case, what will be the future available supply of Bitcoins after 500 years? I think a really great question, because from what I heard, I think 64% of Bitcoin is permanently lost or something, because people lost their keys or it got hacked or something.
I think the short answer is it becomes more scarce. Bitcoin becomes more scarce. So if some people think 21 million, oh my God, it's only 21 million Bitcoin. That's not even enough for one per person on Earth. Well, if, let's say, you're right, 40% or 60% or whatever the number is, 20% are lost, that means everyone else has to fight only for 15 million. And some people jokingly say that if you lose Bitcoin, it's kind of like a donation to all Bitcoiners, right? Because you're effectively increasing the overall, overall, you're decreasing the number of Bitcoin that are in supply. And so, I don't know, or in circulation rather. And so it's, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But then the question is, I guess, what will happen if people keep losing it? It would just continue. And keep in mind, it's divisible. So let's just go to like some extreme, right? Let's say out of the 21 million, the world loses 20 million and there's only 1 million left. Well, even still, those 1 million Bitcoins are each divisible by 9 decimal places. So each Bitcoin, again, out of the million is actually a million Satoshis, correct? So a million times a million, you'd have essentially like that many units or whatever it would be. So I just think, again, if more and more people lost it, you would just have more demand for the ones that are still remaining, right? I don't think that's like a showstopper.
Okay. So I think I never thought of it like that. I was wondering, okay, what is Sunny going to say about this particular question? Because I honestly did not think about this particular aspect. Good question, Pili. Next, we have NPC here. He's asking, gold is the most trusted asset in the world from ages. Can BTC gain the same faith among people for future generations?
I think so. I hope so. That's kind of the bet that we've made with Unocoin, right? Is that the Bitcoin is, this future digital gold form of money that's borderless and open source and censorship resistant. And so I think can BTC gain the same faith? I think among people for future generations, yes. I think there's a lot of we have a long way to go before that happens, right? I don't think most people are there yet. And I think that's due to lack of education, right? In our schooling system, we don't teach we teach kids how to do math, science, but we don't teach them about money, the thing that, is so important. So I think if more people were educated about, that's why we're doing these, YouTube and Restream and all this stuff, is so that we can, not sell people Bitcoin, but more like educate people about about this new revolution, and so that they can start learning about it and see if it makes sense for them. But yeah, I do have a lot of faith that in the future, especially in a place like India, where there's so many technical, young-minded kind of like, people with open minds, that are just willing to experiment and learn. And so, yeah, I think Bitcoin does have a very bright future.
Even I feel the same. The reason being the current condition of our financial system. If the government is not able to cover it up properly in the right amount of time, I think it's gonna be all public. And if you see closely, there are a lot of things that public has started to recognize already, and that comes in terms of the MSME problems that the people are facing, in terms of taxes, in terms of a lot of other financial new things that they have been imposing now, especially with crypto. You cannot even offset the losses against crypto. So in maybe what 10 years down the lane, it has to come to the people's mind that okay, the form of money that we are using currently is something not working for the people. Because of course the people who have invested in Bitcoin already, or maybe are willing to, or are doing the research about that, definitely feel that okay, there is some greater utility to this one thing than the other medium of transactions.
Well, and since you and I have been chatting, Shambhavi, I don't know if you've been looking at the Bitcoin price, but it's been going up steadily, right? And I
Yes,
think over the
yes.
last week or two, every day I wake up and I see it up $1,000 or something. And I think that's mostly because of our show. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not because of our show. But no, I think it has to do with a lot of like macroeconomics and things that are happening. But are you following what's happening in the United States right now
Yes,
with
the
like the
banking crisis.
yes,
We even did one
yes.
whole topic around that.
What's that?
We even did an entire EMA based on that particular topic with Satvik, where we were explaining what caused this thing, and why,
Good.
what are the impacts of this thing, and yeah, what was the impact on the stablecoin price, then Bitcoin price, and then how it rose again,
So
everything.
so that
So,
that's waking up a lot of people, right? A lot of people. And keep in mind, Bitcoin was started in the midst of the last financial crisis. So when
yes,
in 2008, '09, when banks were going down and then the governments were bailing them out, they were printing money and helping all their buddies, and the average taxpayer was just sitting there going, what's going on? I read a crazy statistic just yesterday. What's the bank that just went down? Credit Suisse, I think. Credit Suisse. They
I
just
think
they just
Silicon Valley. It was a series of banks. There was Signature
and,
Bank, then there
and
was Silicon Valley
yeah,
Bank.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And well, credit. I think Credit Suisse was among them, and they were saying that Credit Suisse owes like something.
Sunny, your voice, we can't hear you.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Just give me 1 second.
Sure. So, guys, in the meantime, you can also drop your questions regarding how Bitcoin is a better investment than gold, or if you feel like you want to favor gold over Bitcoin, then sure as hell, drop down your comments and we are going to clarify all your doubts regarding this particular matter.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry about that. That was some good transitioning work there. Okay, so where were we? So no, what I was trying to say is I read that something like each taxpayer is going to be on the hook for something like $13,000 or $14,000. So each individual will be out $13,000 or $14,000 because of this bank going down. But now let that sink in. You're like some average citizen living your life, doing your thing. Some bank, some entity somewhere else takes risk. When they make money, they keep it. But when they lose it, they come to you and they come to the taxpayer saying, please bail us out. If you don't, the whole system will collapse. That's not very fair for that guy who's been saving every penny so he can put his kid through school, right? So these kind of things are what are waking people up. They're going, oh my God, maybe this whole system is a house of cards. Could it be that it just falls apart? Could it be that I could go to the bank one day and now my bank money, my money's not there, right? So I think Bitcoin is like gold in that sense again. So just to go back to the gold analogy, because if you own some gold, you can actually keep that gold inside of like a locker or whatever, or like a safe, right? And it's like there, and nobody can get that gold until they open that safe. So similarly with Bitcoin, you could have some Bitcoin and you could put it in a safe, and that alphanumeric, the private key that you have, as long as you don't give it to anyone, you have access to that digital gold. So it has that same kind of element where you can take possession of it, unlike money, which is like you could have all the money in the world in your bank account, but one day
There's
the bank goes down, bail in, bail out, this, that, whatever, and now all of a sudden your money's gone. So more and more people are waking up to like, why do you need a digital gold, something that with no counterparty risk, where it's just, you can hold it yourself. So I think these kind of things are all starting to come to the, attention of the average person now. And yeah, and that's why you're seeing Bitcoin go up.
Yeah, I think the demand, it has increased a lot. And trust me, I received this one notification from one news site saying that, I think that was a Sunday night or something, that Bitcoin has touched 17,000 something, and that's the right time to invest. And I was like, I just ignored the message because I thought it's just another pop up. Next day, I saw the Bitcoin price going up to what, 20K, and then plus and above, and all of that. I'm like, oh shit, I should have paid attention to that particular message.
Yeah.
But that being said, we have another question from Puli Chakravarti again. She's asking, the permanent loss increases as the adoption increases. It is difficult for masses to safeguard their private keys, but they know how to safeguard their gold.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And there is a bit of an educational process there. And yeah, and I think, gold, you just take the bar of gold and you put it in your safe. It's super simple. With Bitcoin, it's a bit different, right? You would need to ideally buy some sort of hardware wallet. The ones I recommend are Cold Card. They're kind of like my favorite one, but then there's Ledger, Trezor. And so, yeah, you would have to send the Bitcoin to that hardware wallet and then put that hardware wallet inside of a safe. And so I do think, yeah, I think with mass adoption, I think there'll be more loss of keys, true. But you'll also see, the development of technology and companies like ours and Trezor and, like I said, Cold Card and all these companies, their sole purpose is to help people keep their Bitcoin keys safe, right? And now I think Cold Card just launched a really cute little device that looks like a calculator, and you can just like type in, your password and hold your. So it's getting easier and easier, but yeah, it's not the same as gold. And the point around, like, as adoption increases, you're going to start losing more and more Bitcoin. Yes, but that's also going to come at like the fact that the market cap is going to grow, right? So there's going to be more and more. So each Satoshi will be worth more. And I think the losing thing, I mean, personally, like I said, the losing thing, that doesn't keep me up at night as something that's going to ruin Bitcoin, because you could lose gold too. And, you could lose anything.
Hey, can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm having audio issues. Sorry about that. Over.
Okay. So that was the answer to your question, Puli. And here she has dropped another bomb in our comment section. But first, Puli will take Don Pablo's question and then we'll move on to yours.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, my audio is not good today.
Don Pablo here is saying, many people are not aware of Bitcoin, but they surely know about gold. In that case, how Bitcoin is a better investment or an asset than gold?
Well, I mean, just because someone knows about something and doesn't know about something else doesn't make it good or bad, I would argue, right? Like, as in, but keep in mind also, how long has gold been around for? A few years, right? A few years. Bitcoin has been around, I think, just over 10, 12 or something like that. So Bitcoin is kind of like a baby when you compare it to gold, right? And so I think, yeah, but I think that therein lies the opportunity, right? So those who understand it and learn about it earlier and see, a potential future, then they might benefit sooner, as opposed to people who, sit on the sidelines.
Okay. Now, moving on to Puli's another question.
Mhm.
She's saying that chance of permanent loss is not proportional to quantity, unlike gold. Your lifetime saving can be lost just like that if you lose your private keys. Well, that's true.
True. But I would also argue that you can actually protect your private keys far more efficiently and securely than gold. What do I mean? So let's say, for example, you have gold, okay? You put it in a safe inside your house. Well, that gold is inside that safe inside your house. So if, God forbid, somebody came to your house, held a gun to your head and said, give me that gold, no, I'm just saying you could foreseeably take it. But with Bitcoin, because it's like digital money, it's programmable money. There's something called like you can use sharding or multi-sig or whatever. But there's a way where you can essentially split up the private key in like an M of N structure, where you can put like part of the key at home in your safe, another part maybe on the other side of the world in a bank vault, and another key you bury it somewhere in a ground somewhere where you don't tell anybody. And now you would only need 2 of 3 of those keys to get access to your crypto. So you can imagine it's like a James Bond kind of like scenario, right? Where, you 2 people need to turn a key at the same time to deploy a missile or whatever. Bitcoin has similar type of technology built in, and companies like Unocoin and big companies, they actually leverage these types of things to keep their Bitcoin safe. So even an individual, if they were like, hey, I have a lot of Bitcoin and I'm scared it might get stolen, you can do all these things with Bitcoin that just isn't even possible with gold, because gold is old, it's physical, it's archaic. But as soon as you come into the computer world, right, there's just so much more you can do. So yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't think that, I don't know, I personally don't see that as like a valid argument or like a strong argument, just because, I mean, but then again, I have drank the Kool-Aid. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin.
No, I really believe that even with the coins and everything with your private keys, there are certain ways that you have to practice caution, just like with gold. I recall the times where this practice of keeping your gold in the bank safe or the bank locker became a very popular practice, and people would just go save their extra gold, or they just might feel that it might get stolen in their own household or something, so they would just keep it safe over there. So there are practices like that. You can always keep your private keys safe and be double sure with your I think taking care of those methods is the best thing you can do, or maybe keep it in a hot wallet with an
Yeah,
exchange.
well, it depends. I mean, on the hot wallet, you don't want to keep too much. So even on an exchange, you don't want to keep too much. Like if you start getting serious about Bitcoin or crypto, usually the path most people take is they get a hardware wallet. And I do get it that, it's not as easy as storing gold. And there's a bit of learning. But then again, you could say, oh, writing an email is harder than sending a letter. Kind of, sort of. You have to learn how to type, I guess, and how to hit an enter key. But once you learn it, it's like significantly faster, cheaper, better, smarter. So Bitcoin is similar in terms of, comparing it to gold.
Another thing that I feel about this thing is just gonna put it down in a few words, because what I keep with my money when I get the salary on the first of every month, I divide it in like different parts and I keep it in different bank accounts. So just I don't spend too much, and if there's something like I forget some UPI password of mine, I remember the other password of mine. So I think this is something I'm not sure you're the right person to tell if this is the right practice with bitcoins. We could save some with a hot wallet and some with a hardware wallet, something like that. Maybe a combination of
Yeah,
both.
I mean, usually you don't want to keep, like, if you have like a larger amount, you don't want to keep too much on a hot wallet, right? Like less than 5%, maybe 10%, 1% of your holdings you want to keep on a hot wallet, whatever you're looking to trade, ideally. But once you're done trading and buying and selling, then you want to get off usually an exchange and hold that money inside of some sort of like hardware wallet. Some people, they'll use like an old laptop, they'll clear it out, get internet off of it, upload some software onto it, and then use it as their wallet. Some people will use an old phone that they don't use anymore, right? There's just different ways to do it. But ideally, you want to use a computer or something that doesn't touch the internet. Like that when people say, oh, you want to store your Bitcoin in a secure way, you want to make sure that that device cannot connect to the internet no matter what. And that's, if you can do that, then you can use even like a laptop. A lot of people do stuff like that. I can almost laptop, yeah.
Okay. Then there is one more comment from Sujay Vyam. He's saying hello to you, Sunny. So, hello, Sujay.
Hello.
Okay. Next, we're gonna move forward to one of the questions that I have in my mind. If you're talking about both gold and Bitcoin, Sunny. So initially, what I used to think, because even my father is a gold merchant and everything, every Diwali people have this practice in our country to buy gold, right? And I had this thing in my mind, once I start earning and everything, every Diwali I'm just gonna buy some gold, accumulate it, and something. But because I joined Unocoin as my first company, and of course I feel like, oh, there's a lot more to learn and a lot bigger opportunities to utilize my money that I'm saving. I started exploring Bitcoin and everything, but what kind of attracted me was the amount of returns we get. So, what are factors do you think attract investors when we're talking about investing in gold or in Bitcoin?
What was that? I heard everything, but what was the last few words? What was the what? What did you say?
What factors do you think motivate a certain individual to maybe invest in Bitcoin or gold or?
I think many factors. I think anybody, like, look, like, ultimately everyone works really hard, right, to earn money, right? So when you earn that money, in my view, like, that money is really buying you not physical things. I mean, physical things is obvious, but I think money really buys you something more valuable, which is time. Because then you have, if you have money, if you have savings, you can do things that you want to do, if it's like painting or art or build a company or whatever, spend time with your family. And so people, when they earn money, people are looking, okay, well, I've earned the money, now how do I, like, preserve that, like, purchasing power, right? Or how do I amplify it? How do I grow it even? And if you look at, like I said, rupees, well, the value of the rupee, let's just compare it to the US dollar, has gone down, right, in the last 10 years. If you compare the value of a rupee compared to the Bitcoin, it's gone down 99% in the last 10 years, right? Like, easily, maybe 95%. It's gone down because Bitcoin used to be $5. Today it's $30,000.
True.
And so the value of the rupee has gone down. So when people think about it, they're like, okay, I want to preserve my purchasing power, ideally increase it. What's going to enable that? 10 years ago when we got into Bitcoin, we couldn't point to 10 years of history. We were just going on a hunch. We were just saying, look, this thing looks amazing. Like fundamentally, this could be the future of money. But today, people can stand there and look at the history, not that the past equals the future, right? Because just because something did well in the past doesn't mean the next 10 years is going to do well. But it does give some people a little bit of comfort knowing that, wow, it's possible to do 17,000% or whatever it is in 5 or 10 years. And so I think from that perspective, more and more people are looking at looking at Bitcoin as a way of preserving kind of their purchasing power, and essentially like their way of buying back time, right? A way of, like, so that they don't need to work for their whole lives, right? So at some point they can retire. And we have so many examples of people at Unocoin that bought Bitcoin early, and because of it, they were able to retire. And today they're, financially free, and they can focus on taking care of their family members. They can, travel, do the things that they love, the things that really matter to them. So to me, Bitcoin is not about just getting rich. I mean, obviously everyone wants to do that, but it's more about buying, freedom, buying like time, right? And that's what it comes down to, right? It's like, if you want to spend more time with your kids in the future, why save your money in something that's going to go down in value? It's like a losing cause. Why not, put some of it, not all of it, 1%, 2%, 5%, into something that could go up considerably. Oh, I have a little visitor in the back there, you can see. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just going to finish up. Give me a little bit of time, okay? Thank you. Sorry, I set up my workstation up here today. I should have taken it in the basement. But yeah, let's go to the next question, maybe.
Yeah. So here is Abhijit Nagwade in the comment section, who's asking, how do we share the custody of our Bitcoin within family or as succession? So if you have to give your...
I love that question. I love that question, because see, that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited, is like, because people who think long term, right? Like people who think like I'm going to buy Bitcoin and never sell it. I'm going to sell it, you know, when my kids get old or whatever, when they need it, type of thing. So this person's asking about like wills, maybe like how do you, you know, like let's say you have a bunch of crypto and you want to pass it on to your children or someone else. How do you do that? So maybe I'll first mention at Unocoin, we have a service like that, right? That Satvik and the team built, where you can actually select like somebody who would be your successor, right? So that's something that we've taken care of. But as I mentioned, you know, like a lot of people, they don't hold it at an exchange, and they shouldn't. They actually take possession of it themselves. And so I guess it would depend on how you set it up, right? So there are. Oh, everything okay? Oh, your call. Okay.
Yeah, please continue. I'll just.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I think the way that sorry, I kind of lost track of my my thoughts there. We were talking about the how to get what? Oh, I think I lost Shambhavi.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that was an emergency call.
That's okay. Can you take a few minutes?
Sorry.
Can you take a minute? Are you okay? You said you have an emergency.
No, that's all right now.
That's right.
So yeah, we were talking about
yeah.
the succession of Bitcoin part where Unocoin has introduced this facility.
Yeah. So for Unocoin we have that. I'm trying to remember the name of the book. There's a lady that's written a book on this topic. Oof, it's probably gonna come to me. Pamela Morgan.
Okay.
Yeah. So she has a book that is. I'm just gonna look up the name of the book. Yeah, but her name is Pamela Morgan, and she's written like it's called Crypto Asset Inheritance. So that's the book that I would recommend. And in that book, Pamela explains how you actually set up inheritance planning, how you can actually leverage things like multi-sig, and how to set up your will properly. But once again, you know, without going into too much detail on that topic, the book that I would definitely recommend people, if that's a topic of interest, look up Pamela Morgan. Her Twitter handle is Pamela WJD. And she has a book called Crypto Asset Inheritance Planning. I've met Pamela. She's presented at some of our events that I've done before, and she's great. And she's somebody that I think she worked with Andreas Antonopoulos on that book, or I know she's worked with Andreas on some projects. He's great.
So I think, guys, you can definitely refer to that book if you feel like you need to set up an inheritance plan for your family. And of course, that is necessary because I remember in one of our AMAs, Sunny's best advice was just hold Bitcoin, pass it on to your, I think, successors, whosoever comes, your children, your grandchildren, and let them cash it out. And that would be in a very great value the time they cash it out.
And I say that, you know, I say that maybe too often. I say that, but I do say it with a bit of like tongue-in-cheek kind of like I know that's not possible. And even like if people want to know on a personal note, I don't even think that's possible. Like I think there are times in life where things get tough and you might need to liquidate, right? And that's okay. But I say it more as like an aspirational thing, right? Like I think the mentality that you should go into when buying Bitcoin is that you're never going to sell it, right? And if you have an emergency, you should sell it. But, you know, but a smarter thing would be to have an emergency, you know, fund of some sort where you can dip into that. But again, not everybody can, you know, be in that position.
That's true. I think that's true. But that's what we invest for, and that's what we save for our rainy days.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have another question from Puli again. She's saying here, I would like to mention a recent quote where the CEO of major crypto exchange says that 90% will fail to safeguard their private keys.
%90 will fail to safeguard their private keys. Okay. I mean, I guess the CEO said that, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, like keep in mind, like the word private key, even it sounds like super complicated, but ultimately, what is a private key? It's a bunch of letters and numbers. So let me ask you, like, do you think you would have, if I gave you a piece of paper with 50 letters and numbers on it, would you have a hard time safekeeping it? Like, I mean, it's a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers and letters. It's not like some esoteric, private key. You have to talk to an alien and then, like program something. It's like, you have to just save a bunch of letters and numbers safe. Just don't, it's like a password. It's like your banking password. Like, do people have trouble with, their banking password? I don't think so, right? Is there a little bit of a learning that needs to take place? Is it like super easy? No. But I would argue that most people can figure this out. Yeah. Because it's literally as simple as saving 50 or whatever numbers and letters. And it could be as simple as you put it on a piece of paper. You don't have to have it on a special, hardware wallet. Like I said, you can just put the private key on a piece of paper and then put it in the bank vault, right? So I think most people can handle that. And for those who can't, that's gonna suck. Like, I don't know what to say.
So here we have another comment from Pili again. She's saying, I think she's making a very, interesting point. She's saying that, so in my opinion, there is no harm if supply of Bitcoin can be increased to compensate for the permanent loss. Then only it will have longevity to function as people's money. So something that I have for Puli, have you lost your Bitcoin? Because it really feels like, you just want some, because of course, if you have lost, we understand that. But that's the whole point of Bitcoin, I believe, isn't it, Sunny? It being scarce.
Exactly. And when you lose it, the fact that you can't just replace it or make a phone call and get it back makes it that much more valuable. Just like gold, right? If you lose your gold, like let's say you just falls out of your pocket, okay, and you lose it. It'd be better if you can just make gold because I lost it. Well, it doesn't work that way. Gold is scarce, right? And same thing with Bitcoin, it's scarce. You have to keep your private key safe. There is no CEO, there's no office, there's no building you can go and say, hello, Mr. CEO of Bitcoin, can you please give it back? You lose those keys, it's gone for life. So yeah, I can see where Puli's coming from. Unfortunately, I personally, I wouldn't want that, even though I have also lost Bitcoin, right? I in Bitcoin. Oh yeah, I've lost Bitcoin, and trust me, it hurts. You think back to it, you're like, oh my God, if I would have still had those, but because I lost it, does that make me want to change how Bitcoin works? No, it makes me want to be more responsible in the future and not make mistakes like that. And the other beauty of Bitcoin, Shambhavi, is that unlike gold, you can back it up. So let's say you have your private key in a bank vault and you're like, ooh, what if that bank lights up on fire by accident or a tornado hits or something happens? I want to keep a backup. Okay, write those keys, your whatever alphanumeric password, write it on another piece of paper and bury it in your backyard or, whatever, find some other place or memorize it or I don't know, whatever. So I think the fact that Bitcoin is just so beautiful. I mean, Satoshi was a genius. And then people should be prepared though. I mean, things are probably going to get, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people are seeing in the US, there's a lot of, you can say, pushback right now about Bitcoin, right? The Biden government recently came up with a report saying that they don't like crypto, this, that. So there's going to be, what's that famous Gandhi quote? First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Right? Oh, perfect timing with that horn, right? So first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win, right? And so we are at the then they fight you stage. I mean, in India, you could argue that occurred in 2018 to 2020. When we had the Supreme Court case, right? I think I feel like that was kind of like the peak of the fear and uncertainty and all of that. But I feel like the United States is going through something similar now, right? Where the government and the companies and the banks and they're trying to figure everything out. And from what I read yesterday, Coinbase, Brian Armstrong is planning to, I guess, take it to court against the SEC, and so it'll be interesting. We'll see how it plays out. These things take time; they don't happen overnight. But there's definitely I don't want to call it an attack, but it feels like a bit of an attack on Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is used to that. And so, obviously I always say, don't ever put more money into Bitcoin than you can afford to lose, right? This is not something you want to take a bet on with all your life savings. This is more like experimental. It's more fun. It's more, futuristic. It's something you want to optimize your learning around, not necessarily your investment, unless you really, really feel strong conviction. Again, I believe it's one of the most fascinating things that's ever happened.
If I had to relate it to a real life example, I would say that maybe 5-6 years ago, the banks came up with this whole the zero balance account. It came like quite recently, and before that, you had to maintain certain minimum balance in your account. A lot of people did not know about that, and when it went below that, that money was lost, and you couldn't do anything to recover that. I think similar. It's not similar exactly, but that is how it happens. If you're not careful with your money in any form, be it fiat, be it stored in banks or something, you just have to be careful and be very cautious with wherever you are storing your money, and of course be updated with the rules and regulations that are coming up on a regular basis. So there is Abhijit Nagwade again, Sunny. He's asking, not asking really, he's commenting that most private keys were lost when Bitcoin was so much valuable, but the probability of losing private keys is much lower now, in his opinion.
The probability of losing higher amounts was probably higher because by definition the market cap was higher and each Satoshi was worth more. But I guess the probabilities, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, like, is the probability lower? People still have money, but they don't want to lose the money. So I don't see how the probability would change. I could kind of maybe extrapolate and think, okay, I don't know, it's a hard one. If the value of Bitcoins are lower, then people would not want to lose it. No, I don't know why it would be lower. I can't come to that conclusion either. Sorry, correction, not so much valuable. Oh, okay, he corrected it. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah, but I don't know. Should we get back to our topic at hand about gold and Bitcoin? Do you have any more questions around that?
Absolutely. So a lot of times when we talk about Bitcoin, one of the factors when it's why it's considered to be a really great place to invest in is because it's considered to be a hedge against inflation. Do you think that it's better than gold in that particular thing?
As a hedge against inflation, look at the last 10 years. Like, gold has gone up on average, I think 1% or 2% or something per year, and Bitcoin has gone up, whatever, some astronomical number, like I said, from $5 to $10 to like, $30,000 today. So I think it's a much better hedge. Excuse me. And I think as time goes on and more people hear about it and learn about it, it'll become even more so. But in my mind, I've said this before, but I truly believe that at some point in my life, Bitcoin will become the reserve currency of the world. Excuse me, my hiccups. But today we have the United States dollar, right? That acts as the reserve currency of the world. That gives the United States a magnificent amount of power. Yeah, like petrodollar, they call it, right? Like, if you want to buy oil, you have to buy it with US dollar. You want to make a trade. But now what's happening, right? You saw recently, I think Hong Kong is now bringing Bitcoin back. Russia just legalized it. So when you think about these other countries, like let's say India, I don't know exactly geopolitically where India stands with Russia, but I don't think India is like an enemy of Russia, right? So if that's the case, and just because there's a war happening between, let's say, NATO and Russia, what if India and Russia want to still interact, but they can't use the US dollar because the US is at war with Russia? But what if they could use some form of currency that was digital, scarce, open source, limited, this, that? Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's going to be that. So to me, it's, and you saw El Salvador, I think in the last few years, adopt Bitcoin as their national, like whatever reserve currency.
Yeah.
To me, that is literally like, a part of me wants to move to El Salvador. In fact, one of our investors, Unocoin's investors, Max Kaiser, lives in El Salvador now. And they're always messaging us saying, oh, it's the best place. Everyone's going to move down here. But El Salvador made it that. And now they have a volcano, Shambhavi, a volcano that powers their Bitcoin mining operation in El Salvador. They have a volcano bond that's coming out. Their tourism is going through the roof. And all these good things are happening. Crime is down, this and that. So to me, I would love to see what's happening in El Salvador happen at scale. But I don't think it's going to happen soon. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think there's way too much like financial interest in maintaining the United States as the kind of the US dollar, kind of the reserve currency status. But like I said, I don't think it'll be a choice. I think it'll be something that people will eventually kind of land on.
True. So here we have another comment from Abhijit.
Okay.
Saying, gold also has got utility as ornaments, and also due to its metallurgical properties. What makes Bitcoin so unique among other cryptocurrencies? Can Bitcoin be replaced by some other cryptocurrency?
Man, we're getting some really good questions today. These are excellent, excellent questions. So the first question is, gold is used as an ornament, right? So I would argue that gold is used as an ornament and is seen as being beautiful because it was, the best form of money, for 10,000 years or whatever, right? So like, over time, got more and more popular, and started to use it as an ornament because it was like a way of showing you are, right? Kind of. So Bitcoin is not like that in the sense that Bitcoin is obviously not a metal, and you can't wear Bitcoin. And, people wear Bitcoin shirts and Bitcoin hats and Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, but you can't wear Bitcoin. So I think it's a bit different in that sense. I don't think, digital Bitcoins will become like a fashion statement or something like that. And it's just different. It's different. But so I don't think it has that kind of, ornament, like decorative property to it. But I also don't think that's what makes gold gold. I think what makes gold as a form of money was those things we talked about earlier. It's malleable, it's fungible, it's divisible, it's scarce, it's, kind of all these properties. And then the ornament element kind of came after, I believe, where people were like, oh my God, if you have gold, you're rich. Okay, well, my wife, I need to make her look as pretty as possible, so I'll put gold around her type of deal, right? And then he has another question around, can Bitcoin be replaced by some other cryptocurrency? What makes Bitcoin so unique among other crypto? That's another excellent, excellent question by Abhijit. Bitcoin was number one, the first of its kind, right? It was the first that kind of like went from 0 to 1, right? Had that leap in innovation that I would consider, where it went from like, everything before Bitcoin was centralized. It was not open source. I mean, there was a lot of things that Bitcoin really brought together and made it really special. I would say because of that, Bitcoin has something called network effects, which is what you see, let's say, on the internet in general, right? Like, see, the internet is not optimal. Like, you could say, someone could come along and say, oh, Shambhavi, I have a better internet. But good luck, right? Good luck. Or I could even build, I'm sure with Satvik's intelligence, we could build Facebook. Okay, not hard. It's like pretty easy. But who's going to use SunnyBook? My mom is not going to use it, right? No one's going to use it because nobody's on it. So there's something called network effects, which it's kind of self-explanatory. But I think Bitcoin has that in spades. And when you have those types of network effects, when you're first to market at doing something and you're open source and all of that, you attract the brightest minds. So I think a lot of the smartest people in the world are working on Bitcoin. You look at like Tesla or Elon Musk, he's buying Bitcoin. You see countries adopting, they're not adopting Ethereum, but they're adopting Bitcoin, right? So to me, that's just a little quick summary, but I don't think What makes it unique is that it has all these properties, was first to market, and it has network effects. So can Bitcoin be replaced? Of course, right? So because of the free market, something else might come about that's better. If you ask me, Sunny, what do you think is better than Bitcoin? What do you think will surpass it? I don't think there's anything, and I have not seen anything. Not Ethereum, not Solana, not USDT, not Dogecoin, nothing in my view stands up to Bitcoin, right? Even close. So I do think Bitcoin kind of stands alone in terms of its narrative and all of that. And you'll see like Bitcoin is the best.
Another thing that I would like to mention to Abhijit, since I know a little bit about gold and its return value and everything. So Abhijit, like you're saying, it has got utility as ornaments and everything, but when you wanna go cash out that ornament, they're gonna deduct a significant amount of charge while cashing that out to you. Like if it is in a form of ornament, if it is in a form of a biscuit or a coin, even for coins you'll have to pay certain charges when you're gonna get it cashed out. And especially for gold jewelries, when you buy jewelries, they're not always 100% pure. They're not 24 karat gold, so they're gonna deduct the value for the amount of carats that are there. The age of that particular gold will be as counted as a thing. And then of course they're gonna deduct their own charges when they'll melt it down, they'll check the purity, all those charges. So if you talk about cashing it out and getting the money, the amount of money that you spend, so I think you're not going to get a very good return on that, but rather Bitcoin, if you're going to cash it out, you're going to get the amount that is there in the market, right, Sunny? Minus the transaction fee, of course.
Yep, I agree. We also have another question from Puli. Not a question, but a comment. I wanted to just quickly speak to that as well. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think again, Bitcoin has so many things over it. Like I said, it's digital, censorship resistant, open source, decentralized, limited in nature. It's more divisible. It's so many things, right? To me, it's like obviously better than gold, like significantly. But Puli's saying, in fact, I didn't lose any Bitcoin, but this is my nagging concern. I think you understand this. Anyhow, thanks for answering my concerns. So what I wanted to tell Puli is, like, if she has not ever been exposed to Bitcoin or anything, my suggestion would be get a tiny little bit of Bitcoin, right? You can either DM one of us, we'll send you some sats if you want for free, or you can buy someone Unocoin or buy someone from our competitors, but buy a little bit, like 100 rupees, like something that you don't mind if you lose, right? And then I would send it to a wallet you control and try and keep that money safe and see if you can understand it, right? And if you need help, call Unocoin. We'll guide you through it. We'll show you the process of how you keep it. But ultimately, what you need to keep safe is just an alphanumeric. What alphanumeric means is just a bunch of A, B numbers, ones, zeros, a character of 50 of them. That's it. So you have to keep that safe, and you can print it on a piece of paper. At Unocoin, we even enable you to print paper wallets, which you can do. You can print your private key on a paper wallet, and then that piece of paper you have to keep safe. Now, because it's a piece of paper, you might want to laminate it and then put it in the safe, right? Because if some water gets on it or it rips, right? But ultimately, all you have to do is keep that alphanumeric set of keys safe. The way most people do it is they buy something called a hardware wallet. Like I said, it's like a little USB-like device. It's not that hard to use. I won't say it's super easy either. But again, there's tons of YouTube videos. There's a guy named BTC Sessions who does awesome, YouTube videos teaching people how to use all this stuff. But that's all I can say. I mean, let us know if you need any help, and we can walk you through it as well. Or maybe we can even do a whole session on that one day. How to use a Trezor, how to use a ledger. That would be interesting.
Absolutely. If that's required, then 100%. The whole purpose of doing these AMAs and everything is to educate our audience and to let them know about these crucial little information that they're supposed to know, and there's nobody out there who's gonna tell them about all this. So I think sure as hell, if that's a requirement, then we are gonna fulfill it.
Yeah, we can put that on the schedule for Puli.
Absolutely. So as I see, Sunny, we are running a bit out of time, and I think it's time that we sign off from the session today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, for asking so many amazing questions. Thank you, Sunny, for being here and answering all those amazing questions in an amazing way. So that would be all for today. We'll see you soon on Tuesday for another session with Sunny again on Twitter Spaces. So stay tuned and follow Unocoin's channel for updates on our AMA. You can tune in whenever you see an update about that. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.